Going live.
We are live. Okay, so there's that. There's that. I don't need to do the music because it's sounding a lot better the way I do it now. And you guys should have the topics. And Caleb, he caught a hell of a trout today.
Wait a minute, topics?
Yeah, exactly. He caught a big ass trout today.
One of these days, you're just going to quit sending those to us.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm just anal.
Well, I like to have it pulled up when we get started. I put it on the side screen just so I can kind of glance at it and see what we don't get to.
I did look at it yesterday. There was some, I just don't remember it.
It's all right. We'll get into it. That's what we're here for. We're here for you. All right. Let's see if we can get started here. I think I got everything going. All right, here we go. Welcome into another Bite Me podcast right here with your favorite fisherman and me. It's going to be Captain Scott Null and Captain Dean Thomas and myself. Captain Caleb has got something today, but we got some topics for you, man. We got all kinds of cool stuff waiting for you. But I think we're going to start with just kind of the day we had. I don't know if Scott got out on the water yesterday or today, but man, there's just something about taking little kids out on the boat that just kind of reinvigorates you. I saw, Dean, you had some little girls out there with you, and they were having the time of their life. And then we'll get into the topics here in a little bit, but to kind of update on what's happening. We've had a little bit of a rough weekend, but we've had some pretty good days to fish. Dean, what were you finding today?
Man, spring break action. It's good.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. Boat traffic, people. It's like, I mean, we go from basically nobody out there. You own the bays and it's like a gate opens up somewhere and they just come pouring in for spring break. But it's been fun. I mean, kids, of course, they're off of school. They're all having a good time. Daddy wants to take them fishing. And fishing is good. I mean, yeah, the weather always takes a dump on us during spring break. And Saturday, actually, this week, it's looking like it's going to take a turn for the weekenders. But awesome run, a lot of good days, actually in a row.
Yeah, I didn't need to hear that about the weekenders. I'll be down there Friday through Sunday, of course, as usual. Scott, what I know you've had some things on your plate too, but have you been able to get out on the water?
Yeah, I had our little buddy Aiden out on the boat, Dean.
Yeah.
Bruce,
cool kid, man.
Bruce kid and his grandson Aiden. That kid is so much fun. I told you when I sent him over there to you.
Dude can fish, man. So what is he now? Like 15?
He's 14 now.
14? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I first took him out. He was 9, and he come wandering down the dock. You know, he's bebopping down the dock in the morning, and he's carrying 2 rods, and they're both bait casters. And he was little bitty. I mean, he was small for his age even. And I'm looking at him. I was like, I don't know how this is gonna go.
Yeah.
And we got him out there, and that little fart. I mean, everything that I told him to throw to, he threw right to it, cast to it, just like a pro.
I mean, there is hope.
He's a better caster than most of the men I get on the boat. I mean, the little dude, I had him that first time I had him for 2 days, and he never backlashed onon. Not even an overrun, nothing.
He talks smack as good as he casts, too, man. He's in the game.
Remind me not to fish with Aiden if he doesn't backlash, because that could be problematic.
I gave him hell yesterday. He did backlash once yesterday. He picked up his grandfather's rod and went to throw it, and it had a little overrun on the underneath, and it got him.
Yeah,
it was a big old backlash. And he just sit there and looked at it. And I said, "Man, what is the deal? You don't normally backlash." I had to give him a little hard time about it.
Man, so we were saying that Caleb is predisposed today, but looks like he's predisposed on a boat.
I'm post-disposed on a boat.
Are you heading in?
No, we're taking a little break. Wayne and I have come to the conclusion that when you guide long enough, you can shamelessly sit on your boat and wait for people to start catching fish before you get back out.
Yep.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Wayne Davis joining us. How about that? Little extra cameo appearance.
We're trying to get y'all down here to have a whole show here, and we keep coming with excuses why we can't do it.
That will happen. It absolutely will happen. I saw a big ass trout that you sent us. So give us a little rundown before we let you go. What's been happening down there?
Well, allegedly, Wayne and I we're out throwing some prototype colors for his Mansfield knocker tops,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the colors are going to make it to market, John.
Yeah,
Well, the hooks might not.
The hooks might not.
Yeah, your
Half the
boot
hook-
might not. Your boot's
Yeah,
not
half the
going to make
hooks are
it.
in my boot right now. These fish are aggressive down here.
Yeah.
It's
Did you
funny
see
how a
that-
fat, healthy fish acts.
Yeah. Did you see that video I did with Carrie over at Fishing Tackle Unlimited?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. As a matter of fact, appreciate that. That was awesome that you did that. It was a great assortment of topwater lures to choose from. It gave folks a good rundown on what to pick, why to pick, when not to pick. It was great. Good job.
Yeah, well, he was showing me a lot of those new colors on the Mansfield knockers. Now, I don't know if you were throwing one. The one that was on your boot looked like one that he was showing us, Caleb.
Ain't that one.
It wasn't that one?
That's a secret one.
It looked a little bit like it. So we've got the secret Mansfield
That's a
knockers.
special boot catcher.
I was what you would call in a situation.
Yeah. He had a lot of issues going on out in the water. And then I looked up and he's like, yeah, and he's holding his boot up and he's got a lure in it. So I don't know what's happening.
The fish was so big, he almost
Hey.
jerked me over and drowned me, John.
Yeah,
Hey,
sure.
Wayne,
Yes, sir.
welcome to my world.
Oh,
No, we're going down there, man. We were going to go on the 22nd, but that I think some of our listeners would want to know about this. That's the day we're taking out the Livingstons, who were at the feeding frenzy, and they bid on that trip with all four of us. So we're gonna be on two boats. We're gonna be down there on the 22nd of March. That was when we were gonna go down to visit Wayne a little bit, but we'll knock it out here pretty soon.
well, other than shameless plugs for how much fun we have and the fact that we couldn't have done any of this without OG sauce, we were gonna call in and give an actual, I don't know. Can you hear us good enough that we can?
Yeah.
We're gonna get. Wayne was talking about something that's really come to fruition for this time of year, and so I was gonna let Wayne kind of lay a little bit of knowledge on it real quick.
Let's do it. Drop some knowledge on us.
Yeah, so what we're thinking down here now, we're second week in March, and historically we've had a spawn about this time, and it's unfolding right now, in my opinion, down here in Port Mansfield, because we're catching some thin females, and the areas we were catching a lot of big females, the males have moved in, and Scott can probably attest to this. Those females will hold in an area and start their spawning process, and then the males will filter in shortly thereafter, and we're seeing that transition right now here in Port Mansfield today, as a matter of fact.
So-
And yesterday would happen
Yep.
too.
Yeah,
So it's closing time at the bar.
Well, you better give you. There's probably some late bloomers, so to speak, but I think it's occurring here within the next 10 days or so. I feel confident in that.
So
and that
those
should climb its
female
way up the
trout,
coast.
yeah, those female trout are, what do they say, 10s at 2 for those male trout.
Well, I
So-
was looking for a 10 at 2, and it didn't work out, John.
You had a pretty good trout that I saw. That's for
The
dang
major
sure.
started at 2, and we were looking for that 10.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got you. Hey, before we let you guys go, we have so many people that can't go down there, Wayne. Not to shut out Caleb here, but what are you seeing these days? Besides that, that's good information. And what's happening down there?
So our trout population's pretty strong. You know, it's not pre-freeze levels. We talk about that all the time. Our trout population's strong. We have a lot of conservation-minded folks in play in this Port Mansfield general area and up and down the coast probably for the most part. And it's helping. We're starting to see things unfold in the good trout department. The new
Yeah.
regulations will obviously help. And then today, you know, we've got a ton of redfish, which this guy's happy as hell about. We've caught a lot of redfish today, but things are looking good. Flounder starting to make their move back into our base system. We're catching flounder. We caught two today.
Yeah.
So things are looking good. A lot of bait. Water's in good shape. Everything is looking promising.
And now you're just sitting on your ass waiting for the bite to kick back on.
We actually climbed in the boat to call you. The bite's been on. It's been back on for about the past Wayne and I both caught a fish while we were on the phone, not reeling. So it's I'll attest to Wayne and doing guide tails. The fishing is pretty stinking good down here, and if you can get on the books with him and don't mind throwing artificials and throwing them back, it'd probably be a good trip for you.
Yeah. Well, last thing, and I'll let you guys go, and we'll get to the rest of the topics here. We got to get Wayne on the whole podcast with some topics and some stuff down there. We'll do that, and we're going to maybe even after the podcast, we'll all get together and figure out if we can get a date where we can get down there.
Hey, John, before I let you go, I actually read the rundown. Believe it or not, I didn't know it was Tuesday until I saw the rundown.
Okay, well, that's not a surprise.
There's something on there about fishermen's ratios that just doesn't get spoken about. All right, we have things we have
yeah, well, it gets spoken about on this podcast. It's a great question.
Images, so let's just stay away from that topic. Yeah,
it's a great question because one of our listeners, Wayne, I don't know if you saw it or he told you about it, but he's like, man, the way you guys talk, the way I look at these fishing shows, I'm curious. I'm throwing and throwing and throwing, and I'm curious what your guys' cast to catch ratio is. I said, well, I'm gonna make the guys come clean here and actually give us that now. If you have a quick thought on that, Wayne, we'll share it, and then we'll get to that topic with Dean and Scott.
I'll leave it broad, but I'll say you're making more casts than catches.
I looked at Wayne and I was like, dude, I'd say I'm a solid 50%.
Shoot.
And it got kind of quiet. He looked at me and says, you sight cast. I'm like, right. That's why I do it.
Okay. Well, that's a little fly in the ointment. Now
Man,
you sound like Scott trying to find a loophole.
I think my number, I told Wayne, like, if you go lifetime, it has to be 500 to 1. If not, and that might be a bit conservative.
See, that's what our listener wanted to know.
Yeah.
All right, you guys get back in the water. Or
Hey,
get
Dean,
back
I want to say hi to Dean and Scott.
What's up, guys?
Good to see you, Wayne.
Hopefully we catch up with you somewhere, man.
Yeah,
All right.
we will. Enjoy.
Okay, guys. Well, thanks for allowing us to hop on.
Oh, heck yeah. Anytime.
See you guys.
All right.
Later.
All right. So, well, that was a nice little cameo surprise there. Let's start with that topic then, right here. And it was a great question. You guys got to be honest. You got to do the old pinky promise that you're going to be honest. Who should I start with on this one? I think I'm going to start with Dean. He's always got a good perspective on things like this.
I've actually done the math.
You've done the math. See, I told you did. So let me read the question for those who are just joining us. He's done the math.
Your math is flawed.
It could be. The math don't math. I listen to the podcast religiously, and I watch fishing shows and YouTube. I know that stuff is edited, but I want to feel better about throwing a million times just hoping for a bite. What would you say your real cast to catch ratio is? I was throwing lures the other day and wondered if the Bite Me guys were throwing as much as I was. So I have to ask. Dean, this is a great question. Go ahead.
So if you're casting consistently, you can easily throw 3 casts per minute. I mean, it really doesn't take long to throw it out and bring it back in. And if you make it, even take the conservative path and say 2 casts per minute, which is really, I mean, when you're up there just working it, you're going to get way more than that. So 2 casts per minute per hour, that is 120 casts per hour. If you fish,
really did do the math.
6 hours is 720 casts.
Did the simple math.
If you take a break, it's pretty easy. But here's where it gets complicated. If you take a break, eat a sandwich, take a drink, get frustrated, change poles, just to round it off, say 600 casts in a day. And I mean, on a really good day, and I mean, if you're talking about little fish, all fish, or, just really quality fish, if you're looking at, 15 quality fish a day, which is a damn good day, to 7, what is the percentage of 15, 40%?
So 600 divided by
casts and
divided by
catching
15
fish. That's
40 casts to 1. Okay. I'd take that. I think that's pretty accurate. But sometimes,
so 40 to 1. And I mean, there's a lot of days it's 100 to 1.
Yeah, you're telling me. Look who
You
you're
know,
talking
and if you averaged all your, that's just looking at one day. If you averaged a week, you know, that's gonna change dramatically. But yeah, that's just one of those things you ponder when you're sitting out there. And I may have told the story on the podcast before. I had two guys on the front of the boat. After a long day of grinding, one of them looks at the other one and he says, even though I've thrown this thing out there 600 times today, I still feel like this is the one. And yeah you got to be the ultimate optimist to stand there and do that for that many hours.
That's actually, I'm actually, Scott, I'm kind of buying into his numbers there. Do you see any flaws in it?
Oh man, day to day though, it changes so much. You know,
Yeah.
You have those days where it seems like it's every other cast, and that would skew your
Mhm.
numbers pretty good. And,
Yeah.
you know, Altuve goes 4 for 4 some days, you know, but he don't have 1,000 batting average.
Exactly.
Exactly.
We're getting some good comments here. Nestor says, if practice casts in the backyard count, it's 1,000 to 1. And I like Morris here. He says, I'm a lifetime .003 hitter.
Never made it out of single A.
Never made it out of single A, is what he said. But you know what? I got to tell you, because I'm feeling this way, 40 to 1, I'll take that. That's actually not too bad. Like, you know, as much as you're out there.
That would be really good if you're, you know,
Mm-hmm.
on every, if you could do that every day, yeah, that'd be fine.
If you were a lifetime 40 to 1,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a long life. It's there's a lot of bumps in the road of life along the way.
Perry left a message, and by the way, thanks to Perry, I just got a notice that he bought some OG sauce out of baby. He's going to send it to his brother-in-law down in Florida. He says better than Maldonado.
Now he's on the pro staff now.
Yeah, well, not yet. He's got to buy another one. Or do a little recipe test.
People picking on my man Maldy. That's wrong.
This is better than Maldonado.
Way better.
What he said. I've got a few days where I've got 1,000 to 0. I mean,
by Dean's math yesterday, we didn't do so well. I had 2 guys, 600 casts, 3 fish. That's pretty rough.
Yeah, you caught 3 fish with 600 casts.
Yeah,
and you got to factor that in to
yes.
You know, you can't judge a book by one day.
Yeah. So 600 divided, that's 200 to 1 is what you were going yesterday, and I've had those days as well.
And you put the 40 to 1 with the 200 to 1, and that brings your average down. You got to get a lot of hits to bring your average back up.
But here's the thing, and the reason I said it was a great question, and either one of you can jump on in anytime. Like, I think we're actually encouraging some of our listeners, because it can get really frustrating. We've all been there. You cast, you cast.
Yesterday was frustrating as hell. I mean, I got Aiden out there. Aiden's a great little fisherman. His grandfather's damn good too. You know, that's who taught him. And they're West Texas bass fishermen, so they're used to casting a whole lot, and they can hit what they're shooting at. And we had fish around us, and they were just milling about. They really were not interested in eating. I mean, Aiden was putting it right on their nose, and they would just turn and swim the other way. I mean, it was pretty frustrating. They were puffing off way out ahead of us. You know, as I'm poling along there, they were puffing like as far as you could cast, and they were blowing out. I don't know what the hell is going on.
Well, it's just the reality of the challenge. Everybody glamorizes the good days, and nobody posts a picture of an empty cooler.
Yeah.
Well, I got to come clean on this. Go ahead.
What he's talking about too, you know, the TV shows. I mean, that's not reality, man. I mean, that is far from reality. I've done a couple of them, and they'll tell you ahead of time, you know, hey, we're going to fish for 2 days. Have the same shirt, you know, or be able to have a shirt where you got 2 of the same one, or be able to wash it that night and wear it again, or wear it stinky. But need you in the same same outfit 2 days in a row.
Yeah,
So when they put it all together, it looks like one day.
exactly.
And they do that morning, evening, and then morning and evening. And so in 4 trips, you know, because they won't hardly do that in the middle of the day because the camera, you know, and the from the photography side of it, it's not as good as the early morning, late evening light. And so you're looking at 4 trips there.
And then they put 10 fish in a 30-minute show,
Yeah.
and you add in commercials. So what do you got? 20 minutes of programming
And
so,
nothing but catching.
Yeah.
Nothing
And so it looks like that. But to be honest, when Ed came down and we did that show, they told me to do that. Yeah, be ready for, you know, two full days of this, you know. And we went out and fished that morning, and we hammered it so good that morning that at lunch, I said, okay, what time y'all want to get back out there? And they said, man, we got enough for 2 shows right now.
We're done. We're done.
We're done. You're off tomorrow.
I got to come clean on something. Scott just reminded me. This has been probably 2 months ago, but I wasn't catching squat. All of a sudden, I come up on this shoreline. I see 2 egrets. I might have talked about it on here. There's 2 egrets doing like classic, sort of flitting around a little bit and then digging in and getting some bait. So I turned on my camera. No, I did not. So I cast a couple of times and boom, caught a real nice trout. So then I turned on my camera and I did the whole spiel. All right, guys, this is what we're talking about on the podcast. Scott's mentioned it a lot. Perfect scenario. There's a couple of egrets over here, and I showed the egrets. I was just going to post it on the YouTube channel here. And for the next hour and a half, proceeded to not even get one bite at the same spot where I just caught that trout. Turned the camera off, and you know what happened. I mean, like, I turned the camera off, and boom, even a better trout. And I was like, God dog it.
That was what was so cool about Ed's trip. Usually a camera kills it, man. And we had 3 cameras. You know, had 3 damn cameras going at the same time. I was like, man, 3 cameras on us. This is really going to be tough. We ain't going to catch nothing.
And it was like, just like what you're talking about. I set it up perfectly, caught a fish with the camera off, didn't catch a fish for about an hour and a half, turned it off, caught a fish. Dang it. What are we doing here? Why is this happening to me at this point? But no, but I think, you know, the lesson here is like everybody thinks, even us, and you guys, you know, catch ratios a lot more than mine, but you know, think that it's you do this. No, you do all those things and then you grind a little bit, you know. And by the way, Ephraim says Caleb catching himself in the foot with a topwater. What's your take, John, Scott, and Dean? I mean, business as usual is what I say.
Yeah.
He claims the fish put the hook in his boot.
Yeah.
But if the camera wasn't on and we don't have a witness, it's his word against ours, man. So
yeah. So Franklin mentions a tournament. So let's get back to the top of the rundown I sent you, because we do have, I mean, it's happening. March 26th, Scott, is when the new regulations come into play.
Yeah, March 26th.
So, and I'm glad Wayne was talking about when he joined us earlier, like the catch and release thing is catching on, you know, down in Port Mansfield. And I think it's catching on everywhere. And I really credit our guys here on the podcast for playing a little role in that, if not a big role in that. But I want to get both your thoughts on just this thing kicking in, how you feel people, because you talk to fishermen every day, how you feel people are receptive to it, Dean. Like this 3 fish, 15 to 20, nothing over 25 unless it's over 30, et cetera. What's the feedback you're getting?
Well, the tournaments can be whatever parameters you set to win. It doesn't have to be full limits. It doesn't have to be full stringers. The Dargle tournament that I was in last summer for speckled trout, and the guys at Dargle, they're great conservationists. They support catch and release. They support a healthy ecosystem and protecting the resource. It's the blackjack style where you have a maximum length without going over. And it was set at 19 inches, the heaviest trout, without going over 19 inches. So the tournaments are still going to take place. The tournaments can still be great fun, competitive with different parameters. But there, without a doubt, the catch and release ethic is way more of a topic, way more accepted, considered. I mean, whatever word you want to use there.
It's more
by
mainstream.
many. There's a bunch that still resisted and consider it an infringement on their human rights. But the fact that it's coming up in the fact it is
Life,
I mean,
liberty, and keeping a limit.
I've been reading. Yeah, it's all over the place right now.
Yeah.
but it takes generations to change the way people think. It's a slow process. But the fact that it's coming up in conversation and more people are willing to keep enough for dinner, keep some, and say, let's watch a fish swim away. Mm-hmm. And then once you get, I think that when people get that, there's a threshold or a hump that they get over when they finally release their first one. And it's like, they get that warm fuzzy inside. It's like, hey, man, I'm part of the solution now. And it's contagious. It is. And the extreme change in the the change in the regulations, some people call it extreme. I think it's great. It's just a thought process that people are getting into.
Well, before we get to Scott, what are the conversations you've been having about this since it became a reality with fishermen on your boat?
Oh, everybody supports it. I haven't had anybody that's negative to it. Everybody is like, when they look at their, three speckled trout, a nice little sack of fillets, the comment always is, why would I need more fish than this? Packing the freezer is it's not exactly a thing of the past, but it comes, people understand now that, stacking them in the freezer, they're not going to get eaten. That's just a simple fact. They're not going to be the quality that you want them to be 6 months from now or a year from now when you go to the freezer. And I mean, the conversations that I've had with everybody has been very much accepting of the new regulations.
Scott, your point on both those things, the conversations you've had, and what will tournaments look like? I actually think that it'll level the playing field a little bit because that 19 on the button, the example that Dean mentioned, that's kind of like anybody can do that. Not anybody, but you get my point.
Yeah, I mean, there's also like on redfish, there's the most spots. There's all kind of little side pots and things that go on with tournaments, and I think you're probably going to see a little more of that. Hopefully, a whole lot less of, hey, we got to bring in three fish and kill them and weigh them. Maybe there'll be some more catch, photo, and release type tournaments. Like what that one series is doing. They hand out little electronic weighing deals, and you video your fish while you're weighing it, and things like that are going to happen. And Bass has been doing it. They're doing more of those on the boat weigh-ins. It's going to have to go that way if you want to have a tournament where the biggest trout wins. It's going to have to be some type of a catch, photo, and release, because you just can't have the big fish anymore. I think some of the smaller tournaments are just going to say, okay, a 3-fish stringer and within the slot. So I don't know. I'd like to say that it would maybe curtail some of the tournaments because we've got too many of them. Honestly, I mean, there's times, man, Port O'Connor, we got 3 or 4 tournaments going on the same day on a weekend, and it's
not going to stop them. I mean, these,
it's not going to stop them.
Company tournaments, the for money tournaments, all of those are still going to happen, and people are still. The reason the limits are set the way they are because you can't stop people from fishing and taking fish out of the water. The only thing that they could change was the amount of fish that came out of the water. So the tournaments, they're inevitable. They're going to happen. But, the rules are going to change for the tournaments. They're going to adjust to keep it legal. And it's still going to be just as fun. It's still going to be just as competitive. And there's going to be less fish going across the scales.
A couple of things that you guys said got me thinking, like what Dean said about when you sort of break the seal on catching a really good trout and taking a picture and letting it go. I think once you do that, you almost feel like a better fisherman. Like you almost feel like I'm doing it the right way. I don't need fish to eat. I don't need to have bags in the cooler to prove that, I'm a great fisherman or whatever. I mean, I think if people just break that seal, they'll be surprised at how they never go back, so to speak. You know, Dean?
Fishing is full of egos. It just is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You want to catch the biggest fish. You want to come home with the biggest fish. You want to show off, I'm the man. I caught the biggest fish today. But there are ways, photo, release, watch it swim away. You don't have to bring it to the dock to get the same glory. I mean, you get way more exposure on your Instagram than at the cleaning table. There's only 10 people there.
Yeah.
if your Instagram sucks, there may only be 3 people there, though.
Yeah. Send it to us. We got a lot of followers. We'll share it.
Yeah. Well,
go ahead,
yeah.
Scott.
As far as the conversations, everybody I'm talking to is pretty much, on board with it. Of course, you're going to see it on social media. There's a whole bunch of griping and complaining about it. They're taking away our liberties, like Dean said. That one cracks me up. I have a right to catch as many fish as I can catch, whatever. But one guy was like, I just don't understand why we have to have all these regulations. We should be self-regulated. Well,
yeah. Well, how'd that work out?
I sent you guys a picture just the other day of that one boat out of Port Aransas that had all the wahoo.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I sent you all that picture. What was it, like 75 wahoo on one boat? That's what happens when you don't have a regulation.
Yep.
Those guys had no idea how to self-regulate. They were catching fish. Hell, let's just keep everything that we can catch. And there's no way in the world they're going to eat 75 wahoo out of,
never.
Was it 3 or 4 guys?
Ever.
Those were big fish.
And then, they lay them out on the cement for an hour so they can get the picture.
Oh yeah, got to lay them out and get them perfect.
And the quality of what you're eating after it's been laying out there is not like a well-kept fish in the cooler. But then, of course, and we can go forever. How am I going to feed my family if I can't go fishing?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the pork chops and chicken at HEB are way more affordable than catching some speckled trout.
And the other thing that I want to make sure people realize is we were all that guy at one point. I got some, then you kind of break the seal. Like I said, you get those memories on Facebook, the pictures and stuff. I just called it up so I could share with you guys. And you can tell this was about 12 or 15 years ago because I don't have my goatee and I look awfully young in this picture, but that was a stringer I had. Same hat, same style of hat, different hat.
Pre-stiff and quick.
Yeah, that was pre-stiff and quick. That was before I realized we had stiff and quick. So I looked at that picture and I went, man, I'm sure I ate those, but that was a tournament I did, and I was all happy because I ended up winning it, and I took a picture with the stringer. So we're not like being hypocrites here. We've all been there, but it's the way to go right now.
I'll tell you how long it's been for me. All my pictures that are like stringer shots, they're all on 35 millimeter film. And I honestly don't have a single digital picture anywhere of me with a limit of fish or a whole bunch of fish.
But time marches on, things change, the pressure on the resource. We have adapted to the times that we're in, and that was the accepted norm then. You have to adapt. And being proactive, the fact that Texas is, instead of reactive, instead of crashing the fishery and then coming back and having to deal with it in that manner, good job.
Yeah.
And good job to everybody who puts a fish back and lets it swim away. Good job to everybody who puts a couple in the cooler and has an awesome dinner, and then they let the overflow swim away. So
Yeah. And Camille made a good note here, and we had a tournament. I think the second or third year of the Bite Me podcast, so about 3 years ago. That was an app tournament, and it turned out really, really well. We need to kick that off again. Maybe this year we'll do that. But there's these apps for great tournaments. You know, she mentioned iAngler and Tourney X and all that. And this isn't people. The one pushback I've had on that is, well, that's just length. That's not weight. Scott, you've done length tournaments back before they even had these apps.
Oh, absolutely. That's how all our kayak tournaments were done. You know, catch, photo, and release, and everybody got assigned a chip that you put in the picture. So, you know, on the night before the tournament, so you couldn't have old pictures, and you had a special measuring stick that was allowed. Actually, they handed out measuring sticks on that tournament. And so everybody didn't have a measuring stick until that morning of the tournament, and that made it fair for everybody. I think it cut down on the cheating. I don't know. There was some rumors, but
and so I've done the
rumors.
The iAngler.
There were rumors.
I've actually the Jim Dolan Memorial Tournament every year is done on the iAngler app, and you have. I mean, it's a nationwide tournament. You have regions where you compete against everybody in your region. It's a month-long tournament, and you have a code that they issue you, and that code has to be present in the picture with the fish on a scale. And I mean, it can be done. With the technology that we have nowadays, just like the bass guys weighing it, transmits the weight to headquarters.
Dude, that thing is awesome. I was hooked on a TV show and I don't usually watch bass shows. I was like, this is amazing the way they're doing it.
I mean, it can be done. It will be done. The tournaments will continue, but they will adapt to the rules and evolve with technology.
Yeah, John, our friend John Parkoff says he'd love to do a Bite Me online tournament again. We will. I was actually kicking around a couple of things last night, but the main thing we want to do, you want to have a team meeting right here in the midst of the podcast. The main thing I want to do, and maybe we can get some feedback from our listeners and the people here watching live, is another feeding frenzy, just not in July or August or whenever we did it.
August.
So I'm thinking like second week of maybe the weekend after Labor Day, but we'll keep you guys up to date. I am looking for some feedback on that. September can be hot, but not necessarily like it was there, but we still had 300 plus people. So we will do the free feeding frenzy. We're working on a Bite Me tournament, and it can be nationwide as well. We have listeners all over the country, all 50 states, and some internationally as well. So we'll kick that around off air, but just wanted to let everybody know on that. All right.
And go ahead. One more thing to add on the catch, photo, and release. Scott and I participated. We were cutting edge in our day. Well, it wasn't our idea.
When I think of you and Scott, I always think to myself, those guys are cutting edge.
It wasn't our idea, but we participated in it. I mean, I don't remember how many years ago, the first tournaments that Scott and I traveled around the country in, kayak fishing, all of those tournaments were catch, photo, and release. And the technology that we had in that day, they gave you a camera.
Those little Kodak, little throwaway.
Yes, the little disposable camera. And then you had a chip with some kind of an identifier that was issued the night before, so you couldn't duplicate it with the number on it. So that was in the picture. When you came in, they gathered up those cameras. They took them to the 1 hour photo developing. This was before iPhones, before flip phones. I think we may have still had beepers when this was taking place. And so the technology was very rudimentary back in the day, but
it was very stressful waiting on that 1 hour photo too.
Oh my God. And what if they screwed up the pictures?
Well, they would be near a photo center somewhere, the headquarters, and they would organize it and notify them in advance that we're going to be bringing in 100 cameras possibly today. And they would produce those photos judge them from the little printed photos and determine a winner. And every one of those fish swam away. So man, that was some advanced stuff back then, man. That was
well, I'm sitting here thinking if those guys could do that, we can certainly click on an app.
exactly.
We can certainly do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no question. And one more public service thing here for everybody listening. Camille says that Bite Me podcast hats are in stock and on the website. That's scottnollphotography.com. So you can pick up your gear there. And we have stickers and buffs and all kinds of other stuff. All right, I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit because I'm really looking forward to this topic. And as always, I like to dig into the topic, so we may not get to all of them, the other ones today, but one has to go. And this was born from a post on our group page on Facebook, which I highly encourage everybody to join there. We're really bumping up against 10,000 members, which would be really cool. But a lot of people were talking on the Facebook page about, what do you think are the necessities for, today's era of fishing? So I kind of played with that a little bit. So Scott and Dean, one of these things you got to throw overboard. I don't care how much you paid for it. I got three categories here. Trolling motor, power pole, or GPS.
I would
What's going overboard?
I could power pole.
Power pole?
Yeah.
See where you fish, I get that.
Well,
you gotta have it. You gotta have a trolling motor.
But can I keep a broom handle on the boat still?
Okay, Scott. Okay.
Because before power poles, we had sticks.
Yep.
So
I still have one on my boat. It's just a little more upgraded.
And I have my stakeout stick as well as the power pole. I use both of them. But and I mean, if I could live without my GPS. I mean, I never turn it on. The only thing I use with my GPS, the only thing I use, well, if it's foggy or I want to know the water temperature.
Yeah. Scott, trolling motor, power pole, or GPS?
Well, I'm not getting rid of the trolling motor. I got to have that.
No, exactly. You can't live without that.
But I don't have a power pole on my boat, honestly. It's not on there. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't mind having one. They come in kind of handy. GPS, I don't ever use a GPS. I mean,
what about jetties?
The only time
about beachfront?
I mean, I know where those are. I mean, it's not real hard to navigate down the beach.
I know where they are. Yeah, but you're looking for bait on the side of the jetties or some bait on the beach
you
front,
said
something like that.
GPS, you didn't say side scan. You didn't say nothing
well,
about
it's the whole thing. See, here we go.
Chart.
See, it's the whole
you
screen.
Didn't say
you got to
chart.
throw the whole. No. You got to throw the whole screen in the water.
You said GPS. I don't need a GPS. God. Okay, well then, if that's the case, if you're going to throw it in my side scans, I got to get rid of the power pole. Ain't much power poling on the beachfront.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Where are you going power pole in 30 feet of water?
Yeah, it's got one of those 40. One of those 40 power poles. It's a new model.
All
right,
no doubt. But on the pole, but on the other side, depends on which boat I'm on too. If I'm on the poling skiff, I don't need a trolling motor, and I don't need a power pole, and I don't need a GPS. I don't need nothing on that.
You throw them all
okay,
over.
so
happy with that.
Okay, so if you had to, which boat would you throw away?
Oh man, probably the poling skiff because I love tarpon so much
and versatility.
It would cut down. It would cut down on my amount of fishing, but it would cut down on my income too, probably because that little poling skiff probably brings in twice of what the tarpon boat does.
You use like a cup of gasoline.
Yeah, I don't use any gasoline, and it's more months of the year.
Yeah. Henry says all Dean needs is 3 drift socks, maybe 4.
In April, I'm going to need 4, but after that, it's 3.
All right, one has to go. Dean, live well, raised console, or jack plate?
Live well, too easy.
Too easy on that one. See, I was thinking it might be a little more difficult because you get kids trips like you had today. You got people that want to throw bait, although you throw cut mullet more than anything.
I like the raised console. I mean, I love when I get on a boat where I'm driving on the floor compared to what I'm used to up on the console. I can't see where I'm going. It's foreign to me now. So got to have it. Yeah, I mean, I could live without the live well.
Scott?
On the big boat, probably the jackplate, I guess, because I do a lot of kid trips with shrimp. So I need the live well for that. And the raised console, that's just a no-brainer. Got to have that on the big boat. Little boat, I don't care about anything but the jackplate.
Yours would be the polling platform. Yeah. You got to have that.
That'd be my raised console.
That's your raised console.
I got to have the jackplate.
Critical on the flats.
Crucial.
On my little boat, I got to have the jackplate. I wouldn't have got where we went yesterday without the jackplate. There was no way. I was running in 3 or 4 inches of water.
Yeah,
well, you could get there, but you couldn't get out.
Yeah, exactly.
You'd still be there.
I was also thinking of Caleb when I did this one, because the live well and all the tournaments that he's you guys aren't in tournaments anymore or as much anymore. But I'm thinking with that live well, Caleb would have to have that, All right. One has to go. Drift socks. You notice I made it plural, Dean. Drift socks, knife, or phone. I love playing games like this with you guys. Dean looks like he's about to die.
These are coming at us blindsided. This was not in the rundown.
It is. It's right there at the bottom of the rundown. You didn't get to the bottom, did you?
It's a normal day.
He reads page 1.
Dang. Well, I'm gonna on spur. I guess I could. Knife,
knife, phone, or drift sock.
Well,
gotta go overboard.
Your knife.
See, I think I would say knife too, because we got hook removers. I got that big long one that I use all the time. I forget the name.
Yeah,
something like that.
And I mean, you could bite a mullet in half to make them the little pieces. What else do I use a knife for? That's about it.
But see, when you need a knife, you really need a knife.
Yeah.
You really need a knife.
I mean, and your phone, I mean, that's a safety issue. It's communication. You really, check the radar, check the weather, check the tide.
Yep.
Those things I use all day long.
Scott?
Knife.
And drift socks, I guess, because I really don't drift a whole heck of a lot. Now, if I was where Dean is, it'd be a different story. But my water, I just don't drift.
Is this before or after I lose the power pole?
Yeah, that's key. That's key.
If I still got my power pole, I could live without the drift socks.
Yeah.
Is this in chronological order?
Yeah, exactly.
Or random?
But see, without a knife, I just feel naked.
Yes.
I mean, I got a knife in my pocket all the time, man. It's there.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, some wire needs to be spliced or something or whatever.
It gets all kind of uses.
Mm-hmm.
A knife is a multi-tool.
Yeah. You know what's sad? None of us, because I on that last category, mine would be knife too, unfortunately. But none of us said phone. Like that's a comment on our whole era in which we're living in right now.
Yeah. But so, how many times have you spliced a wire?
I've done it. I mean, not a lot. Not a lot, but I've done it. Or you use a knife or whatever, on the boat. But like I said, when you need it, you really need it. Yeah, I go out on the water just to splice wires. I find a lot of comfort in that. It's very relaxing. I got my rods, I got my reels, I got my wires. I got my. Every time I come fishing with you. By the way, Perry said donuts, kolaches, or breakfast tacos.
Ooh, it's not going to be breakfast tacos.
It's not going to be breakfast tacos.
I'll throw the other two away and keep the tacos.
Scott?
Yeah,
I don't
I
need
gotta have the
donuts.
breakfast tacos,
I don't need
and
donuts.
I like kolache. I like
Yeah.
kolaches better than donuts. So
Yeah.
it had, I guess it'd be the donuts.
Yeah.
Dang,
But anyway,
I thought as a police officer that you were sworn to never say a bad word against donuts. Isn't that in y'all's oath when you raise your
I
hand?
retired.
yeah. How true is that, Scott?
Uh,
That whole,
well,
Cops
reputation.
love donuts.
well,
Yeah.
the part of it is when you're on night shift, the donut shop is one of the only things that's open. You know, you work
you get
11 to
coffee.
7, and those guys, they come in at like 3 or 4 o'clock to start making donuts. And that's about the time everything slows down. You know, you've been running calls like crazy from 11 till 2, 2:30. And the guys turn on the lights at the Shipley's. It's like a beacon. You know, you just kind of ease over. And you ain't lived until you had one fresh out of the deal when they first bring them out and they dip them down into that glaze and it brings the glaze up.
Melting off of it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, y'all have all had glazed donuts, but they're all crispy. You know that it's crackling off. That glaze is still dripping and still hot. And I mean, you ain't lived till you had one of them because I mean it just absolutely melts in your mouth. Make me hungry.
So it's true. So it's true, Dean. They're all about those donut places.
Hey, look, man, you can play the night shift thing. I've seen you dunking them at high noon, man.
It's a gene.
Dean always used to make sure when we were going on those trips, he would always make sure to get some donuts because he always liked that joke. And he'd have them little powdered donuts, and then he'd set them on the console. And I'd reach over and I couldn't stand. I had to reach over and grab one because he set them out. And then I'd look and I'd hear click. That someone going to be taking a picture of me eating a donut.
And then I went from the little packages to getting a big family size bag.
Of course.
They last all weekend.
Yeah. No, but what I was going to say is every time I hop on Dean's boat, I got my rods and my reels. I always bring breakfast tacos and wire. He just has never seen me. It's in my pocket. It's in my. So I can do a little splicing while he's running. I can do a little splicing on the wire just for fun. All right.
What does this wire do?
I don't know. We'll figure that out. Hey, Dean, you mind if I go under your console for a second? I got the itch. I got the shakes.
Yeah, that's why my troll motor burned up that day, I guess.
I was splicing the day before. You didn't know that part. So, hey guys, the video I did that we talked about with Wayne and Caleb earlier, with Carrie, Uncle Carrie. I didn't know that's what people call him.
He's Uncle Carrie.
Yeah.
All the fishing guides, all of us fishing guides called him Uncle Carrie.
Mm-hmm.
He was always the uncle that had some equipment. He doled it out. He'd pull up there to the store and he'd open up the back end of his truck, and there was no telling what would happen. I mean, Uncle Carrie, it was like Christmas. He would. That was back when he was repping. He was with Sage on the fly rods, and he actually gave me a fly rod one day. Just pulled out. I mean, it was $600-700 fly rod. He pulled it out of there and he said, "Here, you need this."
Okay.
Yeah, Uncle Carrie was awesome.
Well, he knows his stuff, man.
Yeah.
And so y'all saw the video I did with him on all the top waters. Kind of blew me away. I mean, obviously we all know there's all kinds of different top waters right now, like anything you can imagine. But he started laying them out, and I'm like, holy crap! And he was talking about like different environments for this top water or that top water and depth and all that. I would recommend you get on this YouTube channel. If you get a chance to watch it. But I thought there was a topic for you guys here as well, because we also got a question on the group page, and this really kind of just amused me. I'll put it that way. Hey guys, how do you set the hook on a topwater bait? What do you do with when you get a bite? How do you react to that? And then the second part of that is throwing the right topwater. Scott, I think I'll start with you on this one because we've had this discussion. Dean and I have had this discussion off air. Setting a hook when you get that topwater blow up, I think there's a lot of misconceptions out there. First time I started throwing topwater, Scott, a buddy of mine who I don't do this anymore, said it's like a bass. You got to wait for it. You got to reel down and then rear back and rear back and set the hook, even if you don't feel anything. Well, that didn't work out quite the way I thought it would. But setting a hook with top water, there's a lot of misconceptions about when and how.
You got to give it that extra second. And make sure you got it, because there's a lot of times they pop it and they keep hitting, especially redfish. They'll just keep popping at it and hitting it with their forehead, and they bounce it all over the place. But those few seconds when you actually feel that a little bit of weight on there, but setting the hook, if you're paying attention and you see which way the fish is coming, if he comes left to right or right to left, try to set it in the opposite direction and low is what I've always done. Regardless of whether you saw it or not, which way it came, I always set the hook down parallel to the water, not that straight up Bill Dance big hook set. You'll catch a topwater in the face pretty quick like that. And if you set it low and to the side and you didn't get it, the lure doesn't leave the area. It only goes a foot or so, and so you can keep working it. One of the things I've always found too is with redfish in particular, you got to keep it moving. If you do go to set the hook and you do that low hook set and fish didn't have it and it's a foot away, go ahead and start clicking it again. I've watched redfish from the polling platform enough times, from the top of the center console, and people who just stop it like you do with a bass. Bass fishing, they blow up on it, you just leave it sit and then twitch it real slow. I've watched redfish just completely lose interest in it once it's not moving. It's almost like playing with a cat. You quit moving it, they ain't interested anymore. It's got to be moving.
Yeah. Dean?
Yeah, I use that one all the time. I tell people it's like teasing kitty cats to get them to hit it. And you just have to wait. The thing about it is, and I watch people all the time, man, that fish blows up, boom, they go to set the hook, there goes the topwater straight over their shoulder on the other side of the boat. And it's like, you didn't want to catch that fish or what? You just took it away from them. You have to wait. But every muscle in your body says jump when you see that. It's a test. It is testing you. It's testing your ability to calm down for 2 or 3 seconds, and you got to wait till you feel it. And another thing, like Scott said, whenever you're twitching it and they blow up on it and then it moves, that fish will have a friend down there, is not aware of the impending doom of what's going on. And one of the other fish, the competition factor will take over, and another one will come and eat it. And one of the most beautiful things you've ever seen in your life is 2 or 3 redfish fighting over a topwater to get it. But you just got to keep working it. What fish see, what their natural reaction is, they see things running away from them, fleeing from them. So if you pause it, if you leave it sitting there, it's kind of unnatural behavior. They will sometimes they will hit it. None of this is 100%, but if it is running away from them, if they chase something and then something makes a fast move to get away, you're going to get a much better reaction than letting it sit there and bounce in the waves. But a big giant hook set on anything in salt water is not necessary. The bass fishermen, the stuff that you see on TV where they say cross their eyes and everything else that goes with that, I mean, they don't have a real bony mouth. There's stuff in there that the hook is going to catch, skin, lips, and you don't have to do the mega hook set, but patience. Another thing that somebody told me one time, when they start blowing up on the topwater, they said, close your eyes. And I was like, I've been waiting for this all day long, and I'm going to close my eyes in the best part of the
hell
day.
I am.
I'm gonna miss this. I was like, no, I don't see that happening.
Well,
But,
on that, one of the best mornings I had on topwater was a morning that was so foggy. I was fishing with Everett Johnson, and Dean, you were with us. Me and you and Everett and Ruben were and Pringle, and it was so foggy we couldn't see our lures. You'd cast, and you had no idea what was going on. That was one of the best mornings I ever had on topwater, because all I could do is I could feel it. You couldn't see it. Yeah. So I guess we were kind of fishing with our eyes closed, but you couldn't see your lure until it was within 10, 15 feet of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were getting some massive blow ups.
You know,
But
both
the best
go,
thing
go ahead, Dean.
is to have patience. You just have to wait till you feel the fish, especially with redfish. Their mouth is on the bottom of their head. They're going to come at it sideways. They're going to come across the top of it. You see the explosion way before they bite the thing. So you just have to wait. But
Yeah,
it is,
you both have alluded
yes.
to that, and that's what I was going to say too, Dean. Like,
Dean is known for his patience.
Exactly.
sure
Yes.
he
That's
is.
what
Sure
I
he
said.
is.
It's a test, didn't I?
You know, two things though that are interesting to me. The first one, it's a big test. The first one is the discipline that you have to have on setting a hook with a topwater bait. Scott, to me, it's a learned thing, because as Dean said, like every instinct is like, boom, let's go, because you see the blow up. And to me, that's about the most exciting thing. Even if I have like 20 blow ups and one hookup, it's one of those days. I had a great day. I love watching fish blow up on a topwater, but the discipline that you have to wait to feel the weight. And I really honestly don't even set the hook that hard. You don't have to a lot of times. You just kind of get it back up on you or to the side or whatever. But that's something you have to learn. Like our listeners who may be having some trouble with topwaters and they get blowups and they feel like they're miserable, and that old catch to cast to catch ratio is real high. You got to learn that. I mean, that's an on the water thing.
Yeah, the hard hook set will lose you more fish than catch them.
Yeah, your ratio is going to go down.
Yeah, your ratio is definitely going down, because if you watch a redfish, like I'd say, I get to learn a lot from being on the polling platform and watching these things happen. Redfish almost every single time come at it at a slight angle from the back, and they hit it and they immediately turn and head back in the other direction. So you've got the weight of that fish, 4, 5, 6, 7 pound fish turning really hard directly away from you. He's setting a hook himself if you just hold the rod still.
Mm-hmm.
And so the biggest trout I caught in the last 2 weeks is a beauty, about 25 inches. I'm working the topwater, and I turned around to talk to the dude that I was fishing with. So actually wasn't looking at the lure, and it's like I just kept ticking it, boom, and I got me a sweet hookup. And so yeah, I guess closing your eyes might be the best way to do it if you can do that. But yeah, I wasn't even looking at it. But that's not uncommon, man. I see that happen a lot when we're throwing topwaters. They'll turn their head, as the lure is out there, and boom, they get the blow up.
I just got this vision of Dean out there with one of the little face mask, little silky face mask that women wear at night, to cover their eyes.
Yeah, the little whatever those things are called. Yeah,
we're gonna get Dean something like that and have him fish in that.
Yeah, and then I wouldn't get the sunburn right here on my cheeks.
Dude, that's true.
Yeah, I got a little of that going on too.
Yeah, you have that working. Yeah, man. I mean, it's a learned thing. So just don't be discouraged. All right. So we got a topic or two that we're going to hang until next week. But what would Scott do and what would Dean do? Dean, you kind of referenced the weather a little bit. I'm looking at my apps right now. I mean, there's some windows. There's some good windows this week, I think. But you guys, if you guys are going out this week and this weekend, what are you seeing there, Dean? Like I'm looking at Thursday. I don't know. Maybe not Thursday. What are you seeing, Dean?
Man, am I even looking at the right thing here? Because
the odds are good that you're not.
Wait a minute, because Saturday.
Are you back at the ranch?
Wow. So the cold front here isn't hitting. It shows Monday now. Yeah. I got Monday the 18th is the next north wind, which makes
I got Sunday.
Yeah. Saturday afternoon could be good. I know
Saturday looks really good.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, Saturday looks really good.
Sunday has north wind, but the maximum is 12 miles per hour.
I don't know what you're looking at.
This is Port Aransas, Texas. I got to double check myself. Monday the 18th, we got 21 mile an hour north wind I got Sunday, nothing over 12. So yeah, it looks good all week as far as I'm concerned.
So what are you doing? What I'm looking at is
Beans just looks through all of them and picks
Yeah.
out the one that's the slightest. He always does that.
Thursday
He goes through
afternoon
3 or 4 of them and he picks his favorite.
Yeah. I
That's the
picked
way
the
you're
one
supposed
that's
to do
going to
it.
work best for me.
Yeah. Thursday afternoon into Friday morning on mine, we got some rain if that bugs you. But other than that, the winds aren't crazy. And I'm with you, Scott. Sunday night, Monday morning, they pick up a little bit. But since we were talking to Dean before we get to you, Scott, what would you do given those conditions, like
Well,
Thursday, Friday, etc.?
On a good note, the tides are way up again. Tide is where I love it. I mean, I can drift anywhere I want to. A lot of the stuff that was super shallow a month ago that I couldn't get to has total access. So I have options everywhere, and it spreads the boats out a little bit. It gives people a lot of area to spread out. It's going to be a busy week, going to be a lot of boats out there. Tomorrow I'm drifting, probably going to start throwing some top waters. The water temperature dropped from 72 last week to 62 today. So, but that's going to come up quick. I mean, we're back to 80 degrees out there this afternoon, east wind. And man, I mean, I'm going to be throwing top waters and soft plastics and drifting. Probably won't be on the troll motor too much because we got a great breeze the next couple of days that it's just, I mean, awesome conditions. And according to my forecast, the next 5 days have a good time, man.
Scott, what are you doing though?
And yesterday the tides were stupid low for me. I mean, it was. I mean, it went dry on some of my flats.
So it ran out hard in the afternoon, though.
Yeah, it was falling all day, and by the afternoon, boy, it was.
And today was almost a flatliner. It's crazy how much it changed in one day.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what you're looking at for Sunday. Honestly, I mean, well, there may be a glitch in my matrix over here because Matagorda Bay entrance at 4 a.m. on Sunday, it's showing 8 gusting to 9. At 7 a.m., it's 24 gusting to 37.
All right, there's something going on there.
And then by 10 a.m., it's 10.
Yeah, that's
I don't know what the hell's going on with that.
I use the Wonderground. I mean, I know there's a lot of wind finders and wind apps.
Yeah,
Wonderground tends to be pretty accurate for me.
Yeah, I don't know. There's no telling. What I was finding, we found a ton of redfish. We got to look at a lot of fish. They were all up super, super shallow, and they were all up really skinny, and they weren't feeding. But we had a real hard incoming tide overnight, early morning, and I think they may have fed on that because it gave them access to some backwaters. They were still in those backwaters, but I think they were kind of full. The fish that we did catch were real fat, and I got a funny feeling they ate good on that incoming tide because there wasn't any signs of them blowing up. I think we saw one fish blow up on the shoreline all day. It was just really, really, it was weird the way the fish were acting because they were up shallow like they would be feeding, but they just weren't. They were just kind of laying around. Seems like they were maybe on some smaller stuff. We weren't throwing flies, but there was a whole lot of little bitty shrimp.
All right, so remember
a lot of little minnows around. So I would go smaller, throw some smaller baits. If you're not throwing fly, throw something maybe clear with some speckles in it, some sparkle to it. That way they can't get a real visual on the size of your bait, the bait profile. But all my fish were up shallow. We saw trout up shallow. There was some trout up in a foot of water cutting around. They weren't real big fish, but there was quite a few of them around. We didn't try anything off the drop-offs, but I saw a few people fishing along the edges on the drop-offs and doing some wading. I would imagine that they were probably catching some trout doing that. It's kind of wide open right now. The winds are not great, but it's springtime. They're about normal for March.
Yeah,
it's going to blow a little bit most days. Saturday's fine.
Yeah, Saturday looks good.
Saturday's less than 10 all day. On what I'm looking at. So you you pretty much go anywhere you want. The thing with this time of year with the winds, the wind blew harder yesterday than it was predicted by a lot. I mean, it was probably an extra 5 to 10 above
That's
what they
key.
predicted.
You got to be ready because it could blow right up.
Yeah, and well, for me, I was, talking to those guys, and I was like, yeah, it's right on the edge of it, and it's out of the east, so it's going to be rough. And we were talking about leaving out of Charlie's down here. Well, I got to run across open Espiritu Santo to get over to the island.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, they could be off a little bit on that. And why don't we go out of Port O'Connor, because I've got protected water. I can run anywhere I want to and still be protected, never have to hit any real open water when I cut back through there. So we did that. It was probably a good thing we did. If we'd run over to the island, we could have done it in the morning. It was calm enough. By the afternoon, we'd have got beat to death trying to come back. So that's something to keep in mind this time of year. The weather guys don't hit on the wind very often. It tends to be a little more than what they say.
Yeah. And it's spring break, so plan accordingly. And I know you're probably going to have some grandkids, Scott, that are going to want to get out there. So are they there this week or next week?
They're coming Thursday, and
all right,
they'll be here Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and hanging out. And so, I'll probably put them on the big boat and maybe run out to the jetties. I'm getting some reports that the sheep's head are pretty thick at the jetties.
I saw that too. I saw some pictures.
So, Greg Berm had a bunch of sheep's head out at the jetties. So I'm thinking maybe that, it'll be a lot of activity, a lot of action. Keep them busy, keep them entertained for a little while, wear them out, and then they'll go to sleep when we bring them in.
Yeah, and Dean is Mr. Spring Break right now. You're getting everybody out there. That's cool.
Yeah, I got a couple more tomorrow. I got guys drifting, throwing some topwaters and plastics, and then I got some more kid trips. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I think we're lure fishing again. But yeah, spring break is all about the kickoff to summer, and the kids are out for a week, and man, it's and in my neighborhood, I mean, here between Port A, Aransas Pass, and Rockport, it's spring break central. I mean, it
is.
It gets
what's the weight on the ferry right now?
I didn't see the causeway today, but between now and Saturday, every day it's going to be more and more. And today, I mean, I even warned everybody. It's like, man, boat traffic's going to be tough. We're going to have to deal with it. It's part of the deal. I didn't see another boat today, man. There was nobody around me.
Wow.
So it's hard to gauge.
Yeah, it was pretty light yesterday. There wasn't but maybe 10, 15 trucks in the parking lot. I was really kind of surprised.
Yesterday, I got cut off like crazy, man. I mean, I was just like, I was kind of frustrated. If it was just the luck of where I was and everybody else happened to be there. And today there was nobody around me. And then I went to my second and third spot, and there was nobody there. I mean, I come around the corner, just hoping. It's like, man, let my spot be open.
I can find a spot.
And I come around the corner, and it's like there's not a boat in sight. And I'm like, how could I get so lucky?
Yeah. And Henry mentions on the live feed, I'm not exactly sure. I'm not exactly sure what he means here, except I do.
It's binocular season.
It is binocular season for us because we're dirty old men. All right. So that's Captain Dean Thomas. That's Captain Scott Null. If you want to see for yourself what their cast to catch ratio is, you can book them and you can find them on all their social media. But other than that, you guys, great job. That was a lot of fun. I might have to save some of those one has to go for when Caleb joins us again next week. But otherwise,
for Caleb, it's whatever flew out of the boat.
Yeah, it depends.
You need to add put your backup propeller on the list. For,
maybe his is not one has to go. Maybe his is not one has to go. It's one will go. One will go. All right, guys, that was a lot of fun. Have a great spring break. Don't forget to book our guys here and Caleb. And we're gonna have some fun. I'll be down there this week. Next week, of course, we've got some topics already lined up. Appreciate you guys joining us here on the YouTube channel. You can subscribe. Appreciate you guys joining us on anywhere you get your podcast. You can certainly subscribe there and get notifications whenever we post, and it will be posted tonight. So you guys have a great time. Have a great spring break. Catch them up, and we will talk to you next time.